I like anywhere from 1968 to 1980, about 1983.
Yeah, okay.
Then I hate America again.
I was watching Die Hard, that Live Free Die Hard, and there's a part on there where the guy says to Bruce Willis, he says, "You're a Timex watch in a digital age."
And I am.
And that is, when he said that, he said, "You're a Timex watch in a digital age."
And I am such a Timex watch.
When he said that, it spoke to me. Because I was like, that is me and then us. Here.
My button was big.
I think it needs to be at the top of your head.
I'm going for it.
Kara's watching this documentary on Woodstock. What did you say that how many people were on there? How many people made Woodstock? Is it 2 people?
4.
4 people?
4 people that were 4 young guys who, one guy, he left money from his mother, passed away. And he got a lot of money. Mm-hmm. He got like $500,000, which is a lot.
I didn't think he was going to say that much.
Yeah, his mother left him like that much. He didn't want to figure out what he wanted to do with his money. They're very young. It's 1960. I think it's like 1967. Mm-hmm. And then he teams up with, just like friends. Mm-hmm. And then they start a record company. And then somehow they decided to have a festival.
Yeah.
So,
what was fun? It was interesting is that we were just talking. What sparked this is that we were just talking about passion. Where Kara started collecting these 70s T-shirts. Kara's obsession with the 70s, y'all.
It's a great decade.
What is the obsession with the 70s?
Great decade.
I mean, that's true. The 70s was the bomb.
The late 60s and 70s is my favorite time period.
Just everything, right? The music, the
music,
movies.
TV, the mood of the country, because we were in. Well, and if you go, I like anywhere from 1968 to 1980, about 1983.
Yeah, okay.
Then I hate America again. What I like about the 70s,
yeah,
because mostly the 70s, but I like the late 60s because you can't love the 70s without understanding why it happened.
Yeah, right.
You know what I mean? But I love watching documentaries to understand, because the 60s, late 60s, when feminism started.
Right.
And
you know how we feel about that.
Civil rights movement was going on.
Right.
All of our leaders got killed.
Yeah.
And we were in Vietnam. So men were getting,
shipped away.
And then we also had a draft. So we haven't had a draft in any of our wars since. But a lot of the young men, 18, were getting sent away, and a lot of things were happening. There's a lot of great music
coming out of it.
We also had Woodstock. And Woodstock was created because of the free love movement and the music. And so they had a music festival that they were going to have. They had a hard time finding they had a hard time finding a place to have it, because most of the country was conservative, and we were in a war at the time, and they didn't want these young kids from the 60s that were all about long hair and drugs ruining their area. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And so they couldn't do it. But they did find one place, and a dairy farmer who had all this land. He was a conservative, and for some reason, no one knows why.
It's weird that he was conservative.
He's a red-blooded, maybe he just hard-nosed Republican who not only did he let them use his land, his dairy farm land, for Woodstock, but he believed in conservative values, but he also believed in freedom of speech. And he believed that even though he didn't really agree with everything the kids said, he believed in the right to say it and to be it. So
I feel like that might be the reason. That freedom of speech thing, I think, is what really, shifts gears with your passion for the 70s. Because what happened in like the 80s and definitely 90s is that that freedom of speech and freedom of thought even dwindled down to nothing. And so even when we're watching, like whenever we watch like Jefferson's or any kind of old 70s TV show, they just say the words. You know, the N word. You know, they just say the word, and there's no feeling of and there's no cancellations and all of that stuff. It's just they're just speaking freely as they want to, and it's just like that's what I think I like about that time before the 80s.
Right, me and Danielle love movies. That's one thing we have in common. We're very different people, but we do.
Which is why we want to do the movie review, guys, because we do love.
I love the movies. I don't love new movies. Most of the movies we watch are very old. My very favorite movies are from the 70s because everything was made in film. And film always made things look more, I would say, authentic. More legit and authentic. And, you know, some of the greatest movies in the world came out of the 70s and early 80s, like E.T. And all these movies that we see today, all the technology we have came from the brainchild of that generation. You know what I mean? So I think what I love about the 70s also, it was the time of change, but it was also before cell phones. So people were still pretty old fashioned, but at the same time moving forward. You know what I mean? And I feel like what I hate about today is why I wish we would have stayed where we were. Yeah. I feel like we were fine. Women didn't have to have sex they didn't have to be married to have sex anymore. Yeah. Okay. I get that. You know what I mean? Like, why do you have to do it? You know what I mean? If you're a grown person, you should be making your own decision, right? But on the other hand, I feel like it turned into something gross, like Cardi B. Right. You know what I mean? And I feel like as much as I like technology, most of us on the internet now are just self-serving and not telling the full truth about ourselves. And everything is so self-centered. Well, this world is dedicated now to being so self-centered. Everything's about you.
Remember you were saying earlier today, though, with Mom, we were talking about Mother earlier, and you were saying that I hate to say everyone and make it generalized like that, but a lot of people on social media are like, when you see people outside of social media, they look like a hot mess. Everybody got the bonnets on and just looking like, just not just the women, just men too, just looking like just bums, right? Just looking bad altogether. Their attitudes are horrible. And then boom, you were saying once they get on social media, Facebook and Instagram and all these different platforms, all of a sudden they're all made up. They have their hair, they have all this. It's like there's this sense of phoniness going on in the world.
But in the 70s and the 80s, people were very progressive, but they got dressed.
Yeah, they got dressed, right?
Looked, so whenever time I watch things like Soul Train, what I love about Soul Train is not just because I love afros. I like, the way men and women looked back then. But what I loved about Soul Train is how much fun everyone's having. Yeah. No one's like holding a phone like this. Everyone's just having a good time. When I watch Parliament, the Funkadelic Houston concert or Earth, Wind and Fire or even Charlie Daniels. Even because I like all genres of music. Yeah. I like the country music. I like
we listen to country, opera,
and there was disco.
Yeah, it was all that.
I love even bluegrass. Crosby, Stills and Nash. I like but what I liked about everything was just so authentic, and everyone played instruments and wrote their own music, and the music today is iconic. Like, you can't think about Marvin Gaye without thinking about all the music he wrote. Because he did write most of all.
But even when we watch those YouTubers that do the music, I don't say reviews, but those reaction music videos. All those people that do those reaction music videos are all very young people. I mean, when I say young, most of them are like 20s, maybe 30s, but mostly their 20s, and they listen to old music, and even they say that the music, they see it. They're like, the music that's now is obviously not as good as this. So it's
most music sampled.
It's all sampled from that time, right. Which is probably why
studio creations and things like that. Right. But people back then, it was just like when you look at most of the singers, actors, everyone could have been your dad and your mom. No one needed to have breast implants and.
Who's that? What you won't do for love? Who's that guy?
Bobby Caldwell.
Caldwell. Yeah, it's true. Everybody looks like your dad.
Everybody looked like Earth, Wind and Fire. They could have all been your parents.
Could have been.
You know what I mean? And I think that's the beauty of that generation. Is that my mom's generation is the generation I would have rather been born. I would have rather been born early, so I could have been an 18-year-old in 1970. Yeah. I was born in 1976, and so I was a child.
Like, Mom gives us stories all the time about her 70s when she hung out and stuff. I'm like, man, that looks like fun. That's like fun. But do you ever think that is energetically and spiritually maybe that you were?
I mean, I was in my mother's stomach in 1976. So I could have had the spirit of that, the music
Yeah.
and stuff that was probably going on when my mother was.
There's some
pregnant
decades
with me.
people just connect with. I connect with the 50s. Like I love the 50s. I love everything but the 50s. You know, at some point in the next few years, I want to do a 50s style photo shoot. That's like a bucket list of mine where I want to do a whole setup where I'm just 50s out. So I always feel like there's something like spiritually connected to the 60s.
It just makes me feel whenever I watch old films or old documentaries about the time, and it doesn't matter if the documentary is about Charles Manson.
I know,
or if it's just a documentary about Woodstock, or a documentary on just anything that was going on, Soul Train.
Yeah.
Anything that was going on there. Or if I've watched so many documentaries on like Earth, Wind and Fire and George Clinton, and then not only Charlie Daniels and Dolly Parton and anybody from that generation where that was where they became successful. That was where it all started for them. Even Elvis. You know what I mean? There's just something that makes me feel at peace.
Yeah.
When I watch those things.
And I really honestly just attribute it to the realness of it all. We're not in a time where it is real. So even like when we're watching movies and TV shows, like y'all understand, we watch almost the same movies all the time. We have hundreds of movies and lots of TV shows and stuff. And we have streaming connect. We stream movies sometimes, like the new way to do it. But we love popping in a DVD. I'm telling you right now, if I had a VHS right now, I'd probably be looking at that.
Yeah.
That's how old school we like just that old, like nostalgic kind of time. So although we can stream some of the movies we watch them on our little DVD. We have a DVD player. We watch them that way. Just something about the oldness of that, and then watching even older film.
Yeah.
On that, it's just something about that.
Yeah.
Something about that.
Just even like cars. Like I like old 70s like hatchback type, like those cars. Just something about the decade just makes me feel like at peace. It just makes me feel happy. It makes me feel like I wish things had not changed a little bit. You know what I mean? Because I have a cell phone. I use it, but I don't use it. I don't want to talk to you on the phone all the time. And I don't want to sit there and look at people on Facebook all day. That's why over Instagram. I don't need to have people on my day with me all day. I don't want to take pictures of my food and show everybody. I'm not into taking a picture of myself every day for everyone to like and heart.
That's why it was laughable when we had a few subscribers asked us to do TikTok. I mean, it was like laughable because we were like, and if anyone knows us personally, they're like, these two girls are not going to be doing. They're not. We're just not. I can't get into all of that. I can't even get into the, people take pictures of themselves and they put their face like a bunny. Yeah. People do that filter where they make a face like a bunny or a dog or whatever. I can't even get into all of that.
I guess I just don't. Like I'm not down anybody who does do that. But I don't connect. But I just don't. It just. I don't get into it. I don't care. You know what I mean? I don't care if you like my pictures. Yeah. I don't care if I don't even want to put a picture out. You know what I mean? It's like even when I listen to music, I would love to have a record player and play it in vinyl. Yeah. You know what I mean? Like I like just the sound, the look, that look, that little sound you hear when you put the little thing on the, I like that. You know what I mean? I like old cars. I like older men. I like men from that generation. Men were very masculine in that generation as well.
Well, that's another part. Not everyone was so sensitive. Like men weren't.
Yeah, men are so sensitive now. They cry over everything, and women are just overly aggressive and not ladylike. And I do miss it. At the same time, that generation is the reason why everything is the way it is. Yeah, I hate that. And it's like I hate, as much as I love it, it's also the reason. Yeah, you know what I mean. It's also
I can see you. I can see you in the 70s. Like I know because I know obviously I know you so well, but I can see you as like being part of that whole time. Yeah. When she started collecting the 70s T-shirts, I honestly was not even shocked. Keep on trucking.
Like my mom always used to. My mother was a teenager in the 70s, so she's the perfect age. You know what I mean? I would have loved to have that. That decade. She was the perfect age. She was 18, 17. You know what I mean? And so she was.
That was a good age.
It was a great age to be in that decade because you were very young, but not too young to not have a good time. Yeah. She was old enough to get in the clubs all the stuff. And then my mother was gorgeous. Yeah. So she got all of it. She could have been a movie star. You know what I mean? But she used to just say things like, sometimes she would tell me about like she's like back in those days, and she's like the parks where people would just come out to the park.
Yeah, she did talk about that.
And she like my mother's like, I was born in the hood. Mm-hmm. She just like, but it wasn't like that. You know, it's not like people didn't get killed. Yeah. She's like, but it wasn't like it is now. Like young people that walk around with like handguns and stuff like that.
If you go to a park party now, you know what you're going to be getting.
Someone's going to get killed. Someone's going to get killed. It wasn't like that. People would just bring food and anyone could eat it. And she's like, there'd be music being played and everybody was just having a good time. Adults drinking, but everybody was just having a good time. And it would be a block party basically at the park, you know. And so we can't do that no more. Because now everybody gets killed and the police come and you know what I mean? She's like, little stuff like that is like really has changed. You know, even like we live in Indianapolis, so even like the Black Expo and we have a free concert every year where one of the people from the 70s, like we have, I think Isley Brothers came once and they do a concert for free. Yeah. You know what I mean? To just basically say thank you.
They still do free concerts. They still do it.
But now people shoot people.
Yeah, so who wants to go out there with that?
You know, and it's just like, I think that's
what I like the idea of neighborhood. I like the idea of connecting with people around you. Mm-hmm. That's why I like to have like a large circle of people because I know the way people are these days. It's not the same. It's not the same feeling.
Even my generation, because I'm a 90s teenager. Mm-hmm. Yeah, but even then, I didn't connect with my own generation more than I did with the generation that came before me. Because first of all, I was the first grandchild, so I was raised around all of those people. Right. And I just loved it. You know, I was raised with record players.
You know, us being the first grandchildren, because we were out
of my mother's 6 brothers and sisters, there were 6 of them. We were the first.
Right.
And then there was a few years before there was another.
The next grandkid.
So we were basically raised around adults.
A bunch of adults from the 70s. And so we always heard that music. Every time my grandmother and they would get together at my grandmother's house, it would be the same, the barbecues and stuff like that. So it would be that same like music. Mm-hmm. And just not even that, you would hear the stories of the 70s and them talking about that. And just the whole thing just felt, it just felt more comforting. And then now I'm just, fast forward to now, I'm just like, but even when I was thinking about this the other day too, is that when we were living in New York, New York is interesting because it has a sense of this. Mm-hmm. Because New York is very community oriented. So each community, like we lived in Spanish Harlem, right? So we lived in East Harlem area. So we were around mostly just Hispanic people, right? There's a sense of like the little parties that they have on the block, and there was never any real like problems like with fighting. Yeah. It's just everyone just having a good time outside on the block. And it was just, I don't know, just you still get that sense of that even there, but New York is in itself is just a legacy of what it used to be. What it used to be, like, that's the whole reason why people go is because of the old architecture of the way it used to be, even in the 20s and 30s. Like no one would care about it if it hadn't been for the Radio City Music Hall and just the legacy of what New York is. And that's why I like New York because it was so old. But even when we used to go on the trains, I like the older trains better.
We were there when we had the tokens.
Be prepared if we decide to do these movie reviews. We're probably going to be telling you a lot about the 70s films.
You've been warned, all right? Let's move forward amicably. Okay.
Yeah, because that's all we watch.
Yeah, unless you're a Marvel fan and that's all they play today. Everybody's an action hero. That's like the only requirement you have to be a movie star now.
Who's that?
To get pumped up and then be an action hero.
I know.
Who wants to sit there and watch that?
I was watching Die Hard. That Live Free, Die Hard. Mm-hmm. And there's a part on there where the guy says to Bruce Willis, he says, you're a Timex watch in a digital age.
And I am.
And that is, when he said that, he said, you're a Timex watch in a digital age.
And I am such a Timex watch.
When he said that, it spoke to me. Because I was like, that is me and then us.
Right.
We are literally Timex watches, guys, in a digital age. All right, guys, that's it. Thanks for listening to us talk about really nothing right now. we just felt like talking, y'all. Are you guys nostalgic? Do you guys like the old time 70s, 60s, 50s? Are you one of those people too that's really old school but in a new?
And some people really can't wait to 2050.
Yeah, and then who are those people? So I'm sitting here thinking I'm going back. I know it's true. Thank you guys for watching. We will see you later. Bye.